Please, everybody, give me a round of applause to welcome Safa. Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
No problem. Welcome to Soul Live.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming on, sharing your talents and your gifts, and gifting us with this record. That's another exclusive. My favorite part
Yes.
of working for Soul Live is getting exclusives before they drop.
Yeah.
Tell me about this record. How did it come about?
Well, this record, Fight For You, I wrote as a feature with Full Crate, who's another great artist from Amsterdam that I have the pleasure of meeting through Jazzy Jeff and another artist named Amir.
Okay.
So,
Shout out Amir.
Shout out Amir. 2 years ago, I connected with Full Crate, and we've just been like making songs ever since. But at that time, we were just kind of like throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks. And this past March, I was in LA working with By Hayes, another artist I have a song with.
Shout out by Hayes.
Shout out By Hayes. And we, I was just stopping by Craig's house because he lives nearby in Hollywood, and it was real cool. So I was just hanging out, saying hi to him, his roommates, chilling. And we, he was like, "You want to come down to the studio? You want to hear some stuff?" It's like, it's just, artists talk. We hang out, we go in there, he's playing things on the computer in the studio for me. He was like, "I have a song, would you ever want to write to this? I can send it to you," because I was only supposed to be there for like 30 minutes tops, and then I was going to Shane's house. So I was like, "Okay, cool." He was like, "I got this track, and I've been trying to write to it, and I just can't seem to." And I was like, "Oh yeah, you just send it to me." He was like, "Well, how much time do you have? Do you want to try, like, maybe just laying something down?" And I was like, "Okay." And I was writing, we were just putting things together, and then the chorus came about, and he was like, "Yo, that's fucking fire. Like, that's fire." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, okay." Mind you, I'm notorious for like doing a song in month. Like, it'll take me months to actually finish one song, which is crazy.
You jump around a lot? Do you jump around to different projects? Or?
I do jump around to different projects.
Right.
I feel like as my life changes, I'm always like shifting my artist lens.
Mm-hmm.
So it was quite interesting to do a song in 2 hours. We finished the song in literally 2 hours, like tracked it, everything, my part at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then he recorded his part later. So it was just cool. It was a vibe. We had a good time. We wrote. It was
the impromptu sessions.
flowing.
Yeah, the impromptu sessions are the best ones. You kind of got to just follow the muse at that point. They are.
But the thing is, we've had songs that we spent days on. I've been in his studio till like 7 a.m, just like writing and writing. And it was this one that just, we tried not to think too much about.
Right.
And I'm in love with the record. Like, I think it's so good. It's a beautiful thing to really see what you're capable of as an artist, especially in something like the duration of how long you write a song.
Right.
Because I feel like artists pride themselves on writing all the time and being able to write efficiently and fast and good. It's not just about writing a song that's 30 minutes long and it's just a good record, but it has to be a great record. So for me, I've always prided myself on taking time to create great music. So to see that I could do it in 2 hours, if I had like the push and the drive and just the flow, if it felt right, then you go with it. So I was grateful for that.
Have you ever felt like a song wrote itself? Have you ever felt like a vessel?
I have. In such a weird spiritual sense.
Right.
Like, I've always felt like the moments where I'm not nervous or the moments where I am nervous, it's always for a reason, especially when I'm writing. I do get nervous while writing because I'm always like, this has to sound good, this has to be great. Mm-hmm. There have been moments where it just works.
Yeah.
It just works.
And you don't question it.
And I don't question
it.
And I think that's just the beauty and the divinity of being a vessel, There's no need to question it. And I don't mean to get super religious because I've been on like a really religious discernment journey ever since I renounced Islam at like 18.
Okay.
I've just been like, hearing so many testimonies from like Christianity. I have other friends who are very spiritual. My mother's very spiritual. I have friends who believe in all types of things, friends who are agnostic, friends who, just don't believe in things at all. So I've just been kind of taking in everything to lead me to where I need to be. So to apply that to my music, it's just, I do feel like a vessel sometimes when I have a writing process, which is kind of led me not to rush. I'm like trusting the timing of the universe and God to like push me to where I need to be. So I'm not like, oh, they're gonna forget about me. Oh, it's, it's just ass. Like it's
it's the artist, the regular artist anxiety that
you're
all afflicted by. I get it.
Yeah, but I'm grateful for those human parts of me.
That's beautiful.
And my artistry.
That's awesome. I want to start with kind of a timeline, right? So
let's do it.
I did some digging and I found out that you started creating music at 6.
Yes.
Okay, so please describe what creative.
Where did you find that?
I'm good at what I do.
He's on the black internet, y'all. He's on the dark web. Just kidding. Yo, my mother is an artist herself. She is an MC. She's a rapper that was signed to Rockets in the early 2000s, and she worked with Kanye. She worked with Common, Mos Def, so she was in that scene. And at 6 years old, I kind of just sat under her piano. And I sat with her in the studio. And she's really kind of planted the seeds and the foundation for me to feel comfortable in the music world. And I've been really grateful for that. Her name is Ty Phoenix, if you want to be nosy and listen to my mom's
We're Googling
art.
that. Someone write that down for me, please.
Yes, Tiye Phoenix, as in the bird. She's an amazing rapper. She's an amazing writer. And I get so much of my inspiration from who she used to be and who she's evolved into now. Because I think there's just, with art, we don't really consider age. And I think with her, she's found a way to maturize, I guess the word, mature and develop her art for who she is now. So through that, I've just developed like discernment and like understanding and having a careful approach to how I create. And becoming an artist was not an easy choice for me because the struggle is very apparent even to those who aren't artists. So it was not something I wanted to opt into. And I think that bravery came from just being a 6-year-old who was always in the studio, And
I was going to ask you, like, one of my follow-up questions was like, was there anything watching your mother go to work or stuff like that, how that imprinted on you? And you kind of just answered it before I can ask it, so thank you. Thank you. Well, we'll move forward. All right, so I often find it very interesting, like, the different variables at play that make us who we are.
Yeah.
You familiar with the butterfly effect?
Of course.
All right, of course, right?
Yeah.
For those who don't know, it's a theory in chaos theory, right? Chaos theory suggests a small change can give rise to a big tidal wave, right? So the flap of a butterfly's wing could turn into a tsunami somewhere. So I'm curious do you believe without that foundation that your mother set forth, would you be doing what you're doing right now without that?
I think that the path that was chosen and created for me was very specific.
Okay.
And I was never pressured into being an artist. I didn't want to be an artist. I wanted to be an astrophysicist. Like,
I was gonna ask you.
I literally like.
If it wasn't art, what would it have been? You're saying?
I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love space.
Nice.
I used to read like literally at like not 9th grade or like 10th grade. I went to summer camps at like college campuses. My family, by the way, they're not artists. They're not artists at all.
No.
So they are lawyers, police officers, attorneys. My grandmother worked in a dentist's office. So I come from a very practical and pragmatic family dynamic. So to be an artist was not in my frame of mind. And my mother was already kind of in an ostracized place for being an artist, you know. There was that support, but it's always like, we'll see how this goes, you know? So I attribute her bravery and her passion And I think that just, it was subconsciously just in me, you know?
Right.
And I think that I wanted, not that there's not a space for me to study astrophysics or like study science or anything. My heart was leading me somewhere else, you know?
Right. You got to answer that call, right?
I had to answer. It was calling. It was calling because my future was calling.
Right.
And I was like, I don't see myself in a lab for years. I don't see myself doing that. I don't see myself writing reports. And I just didn't see the lifestyle, you know? It wasn't about the title. It wasn't about the accolades or the money or anything. It was like, when I wake up in the morning, am I going to want to do this, you know?
Right.
And I just was like, it's cool to learn, and I loved to learn these things, but I always was just in music. Music was just a community thing for me. It was like a driving force, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I went to performing arts school.
Yeah,
so
I was going to bring that up next.
I did that, like, just because it was one of the best schools in our town, and my dad really wanted me and my brother to go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, and I also had a voice, like I sang, but never in, like, any sense outside of school or anything. But
Just
it was there.
Mention the name. It was Cicely Tyson.
Yes, Cicely Tyson School of Performing and Fine Arts.
Okay. East Orange.
Yes, East Orange.
East Orange stands up.
EO. I a lot of people there were kind of just singing and doing the arts because it was a great school, and we were just there, you know. But I think being there and being in the choir and being in musical theater and doing all these shows, it was just like I felt like I was born and bred an artist, even without it being like pushed onto me. It was something I wanted to do, you know? And I had other resources to do other things. I just really liked, I just didn't know what else to do that came so natural. Like, I'm going to rehearsals and doing plays and every day, every year,
Right.
you know? So it's like, when the time came for me to like choose where I wanted to go to school, I was like, how am I going to implement what I've always done into my adulthood?
Right.
And now the only logical sense was just to continue pursuing it, you know? And it was not an easy choice. It was the one that was called to me, so.
Right. You brought up community, and I think community goes a very long way with creativity. There's like an energy that's kind of contagious.
Yeah,
and some people never get to experience that. I didn't experience it until I went to an art school, but you had that in like high school. And then you went to college, extended that some more, and then I was eavesdropping on your conversation off camera, and you were saying after you graduated, what is it, the New School Jazz and Contemporary
that's right.
Music? After you graduated, you chose to stay in Brooklyn because the opportunities out there, the creative scene is out there.
Yeah.
And also off camera,
Yes.
you said you thought about going back to school for business.
Yes, I was thinking about going back to school. I still am. I think maybe within sometime in 2025, I will probably be back in school.
Yeah?
Most likely.
Just trying to learn the back end.
Yes, the back end, either music technology or music business. And I know you don't really have to go to school for music. I just grew up in a pedagogy environment surrounded by the arts. So I was like, yo, I thrived the best there. And I think I hit a creative rut when I left school after touring. Because immediately after school, I was on tour. So with a jazz artist.
What year was this around?
I graduated 2021. And then at the end of 2021, I did a Tiny Desk, which was a gig that was recommended to me by a friend.
We're going to get into that.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah,
so let's get into that later. But yeah, school and music are really, they go hand in hand for me because it's just this one hub of everyone doing everything that you want to do too, and you are constantly stimulated, you know. And I think for me, it's so important to like foster that. Like I need constant stimulation in order to stay inspired because otherwise I will be lost in so many things happening in the world, you know? And I'm just such a passionate person. I need that driving force to keep me going. And school was that for a while. College is what really led me to creating my first project, you know? It was just everyone was dropping projects. I'm like, bro, I gotta get into it. Like,
I've always emphasized, like when I've talked to people that are in school and still trying to figure out what they want to do, I've always emphasized that this is going to be the last time you're going to be around your peers.
Yes.
Right? Use that energy, that environment, that youthfulness, take advantage of that. Right. So like when everyone's dropping their projects, drop yours.
Right.
When everybody's kind of working for free and you can get in those studio sessions because everybody's just trying to tinker and find themselves, jump in the studio session.
Exactly.
Right? Because after that, you got to pay for it. After that, it is just business and the world don't care. So like you just have to take advantage of that moment, you know? I've always been a stickler with that.
Yeah. It's so important. It's like one of the last places in your life where you're kind of going to be in a place where everyone is pursuing, you know?
Yeah.
Because once you get out of that, everyone's either pursued or kind of in this like mix of trying to like foster that.
Or their dreams died. That's even scarier. That's right.
Not the dream graveyard.
The dream graveyard.
The dream graveyard.
Yeah, you're in the cubicle with the gray walls and no windows and you know
office
you can't see the sky.
You got a coat on and it's July outside. You know, I'm just kidding.
Sending faxes, it's crazy out here.
That's a nightmare.
Right.
Yes.
All right, so
yeah.
I'm a person that's come to appreciate just how many approaches there are to music. Right. I haven't always been that way though. So my father plays piano by ear. He's always played in the church. Doesn't really know how to read music. And for a long time, I always placed that skill set like higher than someone who's like professionally trained that might not be able to follow impromptu song in church.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So being a person who has a degree in fine arts, I could say you're classically trained or professionally trained in your area.
Yeah.
How do you feel that professional training has aided in your approach to creating your own work?
I think the credentials as a black woman, it was so important for me to at least have because I've been in so many spaces where a lot of what I do is proving and articulating how I do it until it's done. So I say that to kind of say like, people didn't really give me the time of day, especially if I proclaim myself as a singer until I open my mouth, you know? Okay. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't the only thing that was important for me. You know, it's not just about being able to sing, it's about being able to know what's going on. I wanted to learn the language of music. I wanted to become a better performer. I wanted to get rid of stage fright. I wanted to feel confident in a room, and I wanted to be able to talk to the people behind the cameras. You know, I wanted to foster those things because when I didn't have it, I saw how just singing wasn't enough for me. Okay. I needed the technical skills in order to navigate the world because it was very easy for me to be in rooms and they're like, we got it, you can sit over here, you know, let us know if you need anything,
go have a seat.
You know, and I'm like, but I want to know what you're doing, right. You know, or there's been times where I've had experiences and they didn't turn out the way I wanted them to and I didn't have the tools to say or know why. You know, it's like I get a track back and I'm like, this sounds weird. What's missing? You know, right. Or this isn't translating well. How do I get it to translate? So I went to school to just get tools from my toolbox so that I could navigate and create art in a way that made me comfortable. You know, and I think being classically trained, you learn so many different ways to approach how you create, but the most important skills that you learn are like in between the classes. Like, I learned the counterpoint and I learned how to read and write music and I used to write charts by hand. But I'm not like, I did all that and I kept it and it came in handy, but I think the best skills for me was just being able to learn how to talk to people about what I wanted, you know? How
to communicate. Sometimes you don't have the technical terms and the words to communicate.
And it wasn't about being the smartest one in the room. Right. It was about not being invalidated in my process, you know? But also just people are constantly testing you, especially as an artist and especially as a black woman. It's like, all right, so what do you know? You know, or you'll know that people
the
are
passive
like really
aggressiveness.
It's very.
I got you.
Okay.
I got
Look
you.
at you know a little something.
Yeah.
You know? Or you sit down at the soundboard and they're like, don't touch anything. It's like little things that are.
But that gives you the opportunity to shit on them too, though.
Always, but I don't. You don't shit on anything. But I just. I don't know. I'm a perfectionist, and I hate to say that.
Who isn't though?
But it's like perfectionism in the way like we gotta get this shit done, and I know that how I want it to sound, and not perfection in a way like there's nothing wrong, but perfection in the way that there's so much right. I
got you.
So that's really why I
understand that.
Yeah.
It was interesting in listening to previous interviews of yours.
Mm-hmm.
You had a quote that said, "Music communicated your thoughts better than spoken word."
Mm-hmm.
What do you think it is about music that makes it easier to communicate your thoughts?
Growing up, I'm a middle child, so I never.
Me too.
Listen, middle children, justice for us because the trauma is real.
But nobody believes it. No one believes it
because they're like, well, you're not the youngest or the oldest. But like when you're in the middle, it's so hard to get your voice heard. Not only that, just I think all the identities and things that I wear, I always struggled with being able to communicate my thoughts or my feelings or my expression, or just having to hold a conversation and just sell myself, tell people who I am. All of those things were always in the back of my mind.
That's the worst.
It's the
like
worst.
Introducing yourself.
Yeah.
Tell me one thing about yourself.
Yeah, like I don't want to. It's so much to say and without sounding like pretentious or like a dick, And I don't know. I found that when I sang, the room was quiet. People were looking at me. People were listening to me.
You just saw that today. We shut the fuck up.
Look around, everybody. Just kidding. I don't know, but I felt like in my speech as a child, I always be like, well, because I gotta and
always explaining.
Always trying to prove myself, and that was something I had to heal from. But at a young age, I noticed when I sang, like, that respect was there, and
you run towards that.
I ran towards that.
When, like, what you. I don't want to call it validation. It might just be respect. You run towards the respect, the things that bring you good feelings.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
I was so in 6th grade, just a short story. In the 6th grade, I was auditioning for the first musical that my school was putting on when I was enrolled, which was, it was called 13. It was like about preteens and like coming of age kind of musical theater bop. And there were these older, upperclassmen who were like just the singers, because we have a lot of like respectable people who came out of our high school, like Reggie Coos, Kaylee Nichols, things like that. And they were known for just singing. Like that was just a culture of like the high school, like you sing down, And other than that, it's just like, okay, And I auditioned and everyone was in the audition room when I sang. And a lot of those upperclassmen who were kind of like, they were kind of mean, kind of standoffish. When I came out of the room, they were just like, okay, little one, we hear you, we see you, you got it,
How'd that feel?
I was like, I was like, oh, they like me, oh. And that was my little, like, I held on to that in my identity,
That's good.
Which was good. It was good. But now I'm learning to navigate without that.
Okay.
And yeah, so music is definitely my first voice. I would say talking and being able to articulate myself is my second, but it's also a very important voice.
Right, I got you.
So.
You've also been quoted saying that you have to connect to something to give it your all.
Yeah.
What safeguards do you or might you put in place to ensure that connection happens in your artwork?
I cannot create well with people that I'm not friends with. So some of my safeguards are getting to know the people that I'm creating with, because I almost always create in community. Always. I'm either doing a feature or doing background vocals or writing a song for someone or working with a band, I work better when I'm with other people. And my safeguards in those type of spaces, I have to get to know people well. And I also have to trust the process. You know, be lenient and be open. You know, like I have to. Being a perfectionist comes with sometimes holding my tongue. Sometimes what I think is best is not always best, you know? So I have to, the safeguards are usually reminding myself that everything is, you know, perfectly imperfect and things are gonna happen in many ways. But also having discernment at the same time. I don't walk around with discernment. I know a lot of people who like demand respect in this world. Sometimes they kind of, you know, like, oh, hi, how are you?
They're lying.
But I'm not gonna, you know.
Yeah.
But I always carry that because it is important. You know, it is important. People have many different intentions. I just have boundaries when it comes to safeguarding in my connections with my art. A lot of boundaries, a lot of compassion.
Okay.
And a lot of love. Yeah.
We all
that
need
sounds
love.
So like
No, it
love,
does.
You know, reading rainbow, but like really, it really is about love. You have to do everything with love. And love comes in so many different forms. It's not just liking the process, it's also hating it. And it's also being frustrated at it, and it's also being like stagnant. There's so many forms of love because that's the constant that keeps you there. Right. So I am grateful for it.
I love that you said that you also have to hate it.
Yeah.
That's so human. Bro. That's so human though. Like it's not always love. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's all these different emotions.
Sometimes it's showing up even when you don't want to.
Right,
you know?
right.
And showing up in that frustration. And I think all of those skills, music has taught me that because it's translated into things like my love life, my family, and my friends, you know, just developing a discipline. I'm still working on, but
you forever will be working on that.
Forever that.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, right?
That is the beauty of it.
Right.
I'm grateful for it.
Well said. Well said. Hats off. Can we clap? Hats off. Well said. I like that. All right. So you talked about before how, you know, going to the college you went to kind of and being professionally trained kind of lent to different opportunities, right? And we jumped ahead, but now we're getting to it now. My research showed me a Tiny Desk concert that I saw you as a background singer for Esperanza Spalding.
Yes.
That's fire.
Yes.
Right. Quick little story.
Yeah.
I've wanted to work for Tiny Desk for the longest.
For the longest. Isn't NPR cool?
Yeah,
it's
it's such a dope platform.
Yeah.
So Live's really dope too, though.
Absolutely. Listen.
So please tell me about that experience, the background vocals. I hear you do a lot of them, like, and you were just talking about how creating is like a community thing for you.
Yeah.
What was it like, you know, being on Tiny Desk? What was it like? I think you were on tour as well. What was that experience like?
I want to preface this to say that the word tour is used lightly because everyone's like, a tour is back to back. But we did a series of shows for 2 years straight. So
that's a tour to me.
I call it. It's a tour to me. Okay.
Well, I need someone. Whoever says it isn't, tell me why it's not.
Oh, August 1st, August 2nd, August 3rd, August 4th. That's a tour. But like,
no, it's not.
You know. Anyways, I met a friend in college. His name is Morgan Guerin. He is an amazing multi-instrumentalist. He plays multi-instrumentalist. He plays like every instrument that you could possibly think of. Okay. Even ones that you can't think of.
All right.
And I met him in school and I worked on his album. I was doing vocals for one of his songs. And we've just been friends. Like we kick it, you know. Most of the people I work with we're cool. Okay. And that's my boy. And he was like, yo, he was working with Esperanza when she dropped 12 Little Spells and was on tour with her. And she was doing her Tiny Desk, the at-home concert, because at that time it was the pandemic, and they weren't able to do it in the studio. Right. But we did it in the Creamery, which is in Greenpoint, another studio. So they made it look like a Tiny Desk. You know, the green screen in the back. He messaged me and said, hey, do you want to do a gig for Tiny Desk? And I was like, yeah, like
Do
immediately,
you have to
yes.
ask?
I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care. I'm going to do it. He's like, all right, they're going to email you in like a couple of minutes, just to let you know. So I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, they might not, because I recommended a couple people. And I was like, oh, okay, so let me not get my hopes up. Let me just, chill. 20 minutes later, I got the email, and I was immediately like, yes, And that was the first time I did like a high-paying gig. And as an artist, that moment is just undescribable.
That's a milestone, right? That's what you dreamed of,
They were asking me what my rate was, and I'm texting all my professional friends like, how much money should I ask for? Like, I don't know. But
get the bag.
Yes. I started, and I believe in wage transparency. I did that gig for $500. So that was the first music gig that I did that was a 3-digit number, that was not like 120 or like 200. I'm fresh out of college. Like I was hyped.
Well, you go for the opportunity too. I mean,
yes,
you can't monetize.
Exactly. You can't beat that. You can't beat that. I was gonna do it for free, shit, but we did it.
Right.
I was so grateful for the experience and the call, and to know that like there were so many other vocalists, and they were like, yeah, we want you. And we chose another vocalist that I had known a lot about. His name was Buyo Satashe. He's amazing, from South Africa. Okay. Amazing voice. And that was our first time connecting. And we did the Tiny Desk in December. We shot it for her album, The Apothecary Spells. It was really great. I was grateful. I was so excited to be in that room, but also that was the first time I experienced like imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And it was just like everyone in that room was 30 and up. Everyone in that room has been like recording all their lives, and this was like my first professional gig that I wasn't like in a choir and like in the background. Yeah. Like I'm one of the leading vocalists in the back of her whole session. And I love Esperanza. I studied her in jazz school, so I was trying to play it cool, but
not fan out.
Try not to fan out, but I got that news and I studied that music like it was nobody's business. And when we were singing, when we first got into the session and she was singing with us. She was like, hey, nice to meet you. Very cordial, very, very friendly. I was singing and she just looked back and was like, what'd you say your name was again? I was like, my name is Spaz. She was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, nice, I was like, oh my God,
That kind of brings you back to that in school.
Exactly.
When the upperclassmen.
It was a little moment. I did
Full
value
circle.
that seniority, and I value the respect that was given to me by people who have spent their whole lives just doing what I want to do, so. Right. Tiny Desk was amazing. We did a couple songs. I met so many great artists, and I didn't know that it was going to lead me to being on tour with her, because she had messaged me months later. The tour manager said, hey, we're doing a show in Dallas. Do you want to do the show? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, let me figure out how to get to Dallas. They're like, all right, here's your flight. Here's your hotel. Here's your...
That's another milestone right there. You get flown out.
I was...
That's so fire.
I was so grateful to just be working in this capacity, And it led me to the tour. We did the national tour in 2022, and then we did the international tour in 2023. And that was my first time leaving the country ever. So I was so grateful for the whole process. Like, I don't know what it was. It was like a blur to me, for real, because I was just like in this daze of art, in this daze of wonder of the music,
Has that imposter syndrome, has that ever crept back? Because it's so interesting.
Of course.
Yeah, but it's so interesting because like you're in a room with people and you're getting that feeling of imposter syndrome, but you're not recognizing that you're in the room for a reason.
Exactly.
And it's so crazy how those two
hard.
things can exist at the same time simultaneously, but you only go towards the imposter syndrome.
I was hearing a lot of voices.
Yeah.
I was hearing so many things, because it's just like, in my mind, it was hard for me to connect to my tour mates for a while, because I didn't want to fuck up. So I was very serious. I was putting on a whole like let me study the music, and I'm always on the stage, and I'm always nearby, I'm always listening, sound check, I'm making sure I'm on it, and everyone else is just like, la 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 la, like, hey, we chill, we about to go outside and drink, try and go out with us, and I'm like, okay, I really had to loosen up. I would say the first couple of shows was rough for me because I would be fucking up, and I'd be like, damn, it's fun, damn, come on, get it together, it's your last shot, and it still was with me even all the way to the end of the international tour, because I'm not on tour with them currently. They've downsized because there's no new music, no reason to tour. So, it led me to really see myself in so many different ways, believing in myself. Mm-hmm. Coming back to that moment where it's like, I have to prove my worth in so many different ways because I have to be perfect all the time. I have to make sure that I know myself. I have to make sure that I know the music. I have to make sure that I'm not the reason we're delaying the sound check. I have to, it was manifesting itself in so many different ways. And also how I showed up socially, that was like a really big thing for me because it was hard for me to connect to a lot of these older musicians, older people in general, who have been established in their careers and also established their own communities. Mm-hmm. Assimilating to that was like really hard. And for a while it was quiet. I would sit in the back, and it was also hard for me to connect to Esperanza. Just like on a transparent note, like I think I was afraid to like fuck up my relationship with her in any way because I was like, I have this professional moment where I'm like on tour, I want to keep this. It was keeping me alive. It was, it was a big thing for my career, one of the first big moments of my career. I wanted to make sure I just didn't mess up.
You also go from studying her in school, like if you're studying someone that you're putting them on a pedestal, like and now they're in the flesh, like that can be intimidating. It was hard to
translate that. It's really hard to translate that. Hard. And I see why people get starstruck and stuff, but it's because of the ideas and the perceptions and the way we see them. I've only ever seen her through a screen or through a audio device. Right. I've never seen her in person. I've never been able to experience her art firsthand, but also to hear someone that I've studied to be like, you have such an amazing voice, or you're so talented, or I love what you add to this, and it took a while to settle in, and it's still taking time,
I like that you said that, because I feel like the casual listener kind of overlooks background vocals and just how much they add to songs. Somebody that comes to mind is Bilal. Bilal used to be a background singer for the GOAT, D'Angelo. That's like my favorite artist.
And he went to new school too.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. With Robert Glasper.
I'm learning now. So I say all that because like the act of playing the background to produce the best version of whatever you're trying to accomplish is like a selfless one.
It is.
Right? Can you speak to how your work as a background singer has helped shape your approach as the lead singer? Like what are the different nuances between the two?
I think it's the quality of the art. Like to put into in a metaphorical sense, like I'm no longer going to go to the pizza store or I'm not going to go to the store and I'm not going to buy like store-bought dough and the Kraft cheese. No disrespect to Kraft, but like the regular like pasta sauce. Like it allows you to see that the quality of the ingredients that you're creating are going to change the entire dynamic of whatever you're producing.
I like how you use the word ingredients.
Yeah,
you're
that's
cooking.
so important. You're cooking. But as a background vocalist, I allowed myself to see all of the inner workings of a good song because I was just like, I want to make good music. What is it that makes it that good? I need to know these portions and these little things that people do. So I would study the little ooh and the ah and the and like even just the like the little things that people added to a song that made it great. I was like, that can't go unnoticed, and I needed to ingest that, and I needed to regurgitate it whenever I'm creating.
Right.
So I think it just allowed me to study as well. It was always I'm always just studying, like always just listening and creating other people's visions, which I also have a passion for. I love supporting other artists. I love being a part of people's work and visions. I love using it as a barter and trade to connect, you know. So I think that being a background vocalist has just overall allowed me to see all of the inner workings of what makes good music.
That's
so
a great
I'm
answer.
grateful for that.
Yeah, that's a great answer. There's this there's such thing called, you know, in fighting, UFC, boxing, when like a lesser known fighter goes up against a champion, might lose, but he gets this thing called the rub, right? And the rub is, I've seen what greatness is, I've seen what great music in your case is, and now I have the tools or the wherewithal to execute it on my own. Right, so that makes perfect sense. So we're running out of time, and I want to wrap this up. You're on record saying that you hate describing your genre, so I'll spare you. I'm not going to ask that question. However, I do want to leave out with what I like to call no right or wrong. Right? It's just 5 questions. First thing that pops in your mind, answer. Right? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. One word or one sentence?
It would be one word, one noun.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, a song you wish you had written.
Hold On by Dwele.
Ooh, good one. That's one of your favorite artists.
I love Dwele.
Yeah. He don't get the credit. He doesn't get the credit like he's supposed to.
I'm like, he's so good.
All right. So the next one, the artist that made you want to become an artist.
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Frank Ocean, I would say.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. First album you fell in love with.
Songs of the Key of Life.
You got some good answers.
Yeah.
That's Stevie Wonder, by the way.
Yes.
All right. The first gig you went to.
Oof. I'm trying to think because I've been to so many earlier ones.
We can skip it.
Yeah, we can. Okay. I'm trying to.
Well, let's replace it. First concert you went to.
Well, technically that was mindless behavior, but like I'm not gonna say.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yo, I did see. Who did I see live that really like? I got to see Casey Benjamin at the Soul and the Horn. Okay. And I think that was really cool.
Pivotal
really,
for
really
you
cool.
as an artist seeing that live?
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah. All right, so the last part. This is not a one word. Or it could be. The best part of doing what you do.
The best part of doing what I do, I get to keep doing it.
Give it up. Give it up. Give it up.
Thank you.
Safa, ladies and gentlemen, you are officially a part of So Live alumni. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Can't wait to hear more from you.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much.